Hi, it's Jack, and this is the podcast version of this episode. If you want to read the words as they're being analysed, then if you're on Spotify, you can become a subscriber of this channel or head over to the YouTube channel. And on both platforms, you can also sign up to get exclusive episodes and early access to the regular weekly episodes too. It concerns me a lot when the mother of two young missing children says something like this.
Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds. And I don't want to go through that another night without them.
I'll explain why in this episode. Welcome to Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if they're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And what I do here is different from anywhere else because I strip away everything apart from what is said and look at those words, use my process of statement investigation to give you the key to seeing possible deception, possibly where the truth lies, and the motivation of a person. Now, thank you to Bridget for sending this my way, and also the Never a Truer Word Facebook group for their thoughts too. At the time of recording, in Nova Scotia, Canada, 6-year-old Lily Sullivan and her brother, 4-year-old Jack Sullivan, are missing. Their mother, and I think her first name is said Malehya Brooks-Murray, has been speaking to local TV. When I look at this and when I look at parents of missing children, I'm looking for some things. I'm looking at where their concern is, where their focus is, and also for repeated concepts, the things that they bring up over and over again, which are very likely significant to the person talking. With all that in mind, let's have a listen to what the mother has to say.
What happened was we woke up, I heard them playing in the next room beside us, and I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them. And they happen to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time. And the next thing we knew, it was quiet, and we get up and I tell him, my partner Daniel, I tell him, do you hear the kids? And he says no, and we get up instantly. We're looking outside, we're looking everywhere, yelling for them, and I instantly just call 911. I just had the instinct I needed to call.
There is so much that concerns me in that set of words. We don't know the questions that are asked to get the responses here. They've been edited out. But when she starts by saying what happened was we woke up, the question was very likely something like what happened. And the answer to the question what happened can be very revealing, especially where the answer starts. It reveals to that person who's talking where they think the story starts, and to her it's when she woke up, or when we woke up is when the story starts. And I'm going to point this out first of all, how often in that answer she talks about we rather than herself. So what happened was we woke up. They were playing in the room beside us. We tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them. And then there's a sliding door, which we can't hear it when it opens. We weren't aware of at the time that they were playing outside. The next thing we knew, it was quiet. She carries on and talks about we get up instantly. We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere. And then she talks about calling 911, which she does on her own. Now, one of the things that I notice often in deception is when two people get together to concoct a false story, something they haven't experienced. They talk about, well, we did this and then we did that, so that's the story we're going to tell. And then when the story comes out, the person telling it doesn't tell the story from their point of view, which is what you do when you're telling your authentic experience, but they're telling it from the point of view of we, using the pronoun we and us there, because the story's made up and it's about, they're getting the story straight, if you like. Is that's what's happening here? I'm going to take everything we as potentially constructed here and then look at what she owns by saying I and using the pronoun I. I heard them playing in the next room. I was drifting in and out of sleep. So I believe she heard them in the next room. I believe she was drifting in and out of sleep. Interestingly, she talks about when we woke up, but it was I drifting in and out of sleep. So was her partner fully awake all the time? But she I believe those things because she's saying she owns them. But then she says, I tell them, do you hear the kids? And he says no. So she takes some ownership of that, and she takes ownership of calling 911 as well. I instantly just called 911. I just had the instinct I needed to call. So those things where she has I believe it's going to be really provable whether she called 911 or not. And also she heard them playing in the next room. I believe that. What else do I get? I get a sense of casualness in there as well. I was drifting in and out of sleep, and also they just happened to get out the sliding door. There's a sense of some casualness going on there. Now, is that something to do with the parenting skills? Because she says, what happened was we woke up and I heard him in the next room beside us. I was drifting in and out of sleep. And then she goes on to tell us what great parents they are. Before telling us about the children going missing or discovering the children were missing at all, she feels the need to persuade us of how good the parenting skills she has are. That suggests to me potentially that the parenting skills are somewhat lacking or were somewhat lacking at this point, because she wants to tell us what great parents they are with these phrases. They're not the type of kids we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them. Why that need to persuade us of how solid their parenting skills are. Also, we tell them not to go outside on their own is very different from they do not go outside on their own. You'll notice that as well. Listen, she heard them playing in the next room beside us, and she mentions playing again. They were outside playing, so playing is a repeated concept here. Why is that? What were they just playing? Or is this again to reinforce the sort of happiness inside the house that these kids were playing away? They were playing in the next room. They were outside playing. Interesting. We will come to why I doubt that maybe she was aware that some playing was going on. A bit of a mismatch here. She says, first of all, we woke up. And then she says, I was drifting in and out of sleep. Well, you notice I did point out it's we woke up. That's the pair of them, her and her partner. But then only I herself was drifting in and out of sleep. But also a bit of a mismatch there. When you wake up, typically you're talking about being awake, being like fully alert and awake. Not, you don't say you wake up and then drifting out and in and out of sleep. It's just a bit of a mismatch. It feels to me like it might be slightly out of time. They just happened to get out the sliding door. It's the sliding door that is getting the blame for this, and we can't hear it when it opens, and they were outside playing. I want to know how she knew they were outside playing, because you can't hear the door open. It's not very clear. It could be that what she thought was the kids playing next door was the kids outside playing. Potentially, but it's not very clear at all what has happened there, and how she knows they just happened to just get out that sliding door. That word "just" there, indicating, oh, they just got out the door. Don't look too closely into this. It's a really simple thing. They just got out the door. Also, logically, and again, this goes to me that maybe there's some neglect going on here. Why was the sliding door unlocked? Why were the children able to get out if you were asleep? I believe this happened in a rural place. Maybe locking doors is not quite the done thing there, but you've got two kids at very young ages and also very mobile, obviously. So would you not consider locking your sliding door that they can get out? Because we can't hear it when it opens. The sliding door part, I do not like. She says, we weren't aware of it at the time, and the next thing we knew, it was quiet. Now, there's a jump in time there. There's something went on there, and it was quiet. She then introduces Daniel, who she realizes that she hasn't introduced. I tell him, and then she goes, my partner, Daniel, I tell him, do you hear the kids? Interesting misspeak there. It's not I ask him, do you hear the kids? I tell him, do you hear the kids? And he says no, and we get up instantly, and we are looking outside. Now that word instantly is interesting. Why not just tell us we got up to look outside? Why does she have to tell us that as soon as, not she couldn't hear the kids, but as soon as Daniel couldn't hear the kids, they got up instantly? I think there's a jump in time here. There's a time lag between the kids being known to be missing and them looking for the kids and calling 911. We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. And I instantly just call 911. So we've got just in there, and we have instantly again. So this makes me think that between them knowing the kids were missing and 911 being involved, there is a lag in time going on here. And then she said she excuses why she called 911. She's noticed her kids are missing. They're not in the house. They're not outside. And yet she has to excuse and persuade us why she called 911. I just had the instinct that I needed to call. Not 100% certain on that. Now look at the present tense here as well. She says, we weren't aware of it at the time, which is past tense. And then she says it was quiet, which is past tense. And then it goes present tense, which is not expected when someone is relaying past events. So we weren't aware of it at the time. The next thing we knew, it was quiet. And we get up and I tell him, my partner Daniel, I tell him, do you hear the kids? And he says, no. We get up instantly. We are looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. I instantly just call 911. Present tense. Why is that present tense there? That is all extremely concerning for me there. So we've got the present tense. So listen, here I think we've got a constructed story going on. There are so many elements of a constructed story. Some of it just logically doesn't hang together, which is when we construct a story, it's so hard to cover off every single angle. It's much easier to tell the truth. There's the need to persuade that they've got solid parenting and the need to show quick reaction. So what I've got from that very first minute or so of the interview, I feel she's not telling the truth. I think she's telling a constructed version of events. She has an extreme need to persuade us that they are good parents, which makes me think there's a bit of neglect going on, because that was the first thing she really said before talking about her children being missing, which should be the hugest priority for her. Instead, it's saying what great parents we are. And I need to show a quick reaction, which I think means there was a lag between these children going missing and between the fact when the authorities were alerted. It's not on video, but I did find a quote in the press from Daniel, the partner, as well. Dan says, when we noticed that the children were gone, I immediately jumped in my vehicle, surveyed all the areas, many dirt roads, many culverts as I could, and I waited for the police to get there. Now, here we have very similar construction to what we have from the mum, which is we noticed the children were gone. So this is a joint ownership of this. We noticed that the children were gone. I immediately jumped in the vehicle. So there's a sense there again of, it's not just I jumped in the vehicle and surveyed all the areas. It is I immediately did it, which again just adds me thinking that they did not alert the authorities as soon as these children were missing. He owns jumping in the vehicle. He owns searching for as many culverts as I could. And then he says, he says he surveyed all the areas, many dirt roads, many culverts. Surveyed? Interesting choice of words there. Not searched or anything like that, just surveyed. Searched is trying to find something. Surveying is just sitting back and looking at something and waited for the police to get there. May well be very true, but it's as if he made sure or is very aware that he was not at the house when the police arrived. Let's listen to some more from the mother now.
They're both really go-lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone. They're just extremely sweet kids.
So she says they're both really go-lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store. They're just extremely sweet kids. Now, the very first thing I've got on this is something reassuring. Having said not a lot on that first excerpt, she is talking about the children in the present tense, not the past tense, which would make me think she is aware or psychologically thinks that something very bad has happened to them. She talks about them in the present tense. They are both really go-lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone. They're just extremely sweet kids. All present tense. There's a little bit of reassurance there for me. And then there's some other stuff. They're both really go-lucky children is the first thing she says when she's talking about them. Really is persuasive. She wants to get across that these kids, she loves them and they are great. And she's trying to persuade us about how much that she feels that with the word really. They're really go-lucky children. the phrase is happy-go-lucky, but she's taken the happy out. Look, we all misspeak. I will do it in the course of this episode for sure. But interesting that happy is the thing that has been dropped, and they are just go-lucky children. And then she talks about how much the children talk. They'll talk your ear off. Now, I don't like that because it's a bit derogatory about these missing children, and I would expect her to maybe be a little bit nicer. It may be the truth, but this is a bit derogatory about children that are missing. They'll talk your ear off. Got a comment on that. And they will speak to anyone in a store. So again, we've got this idea that the children are talking. I'm interested in why they will speak to anyone in a store and not anyone. You know, why is it only in a store that she is mentioning this? Again, is this neglectful? Is this the only place the children go? They don't play with friends or, you know, anything like that. It's just they will speak to anyone in a store, not speak to anyone at school, speak to just anyone, family, friends, strangers. No. They will speak to anyone. And again, we've got this persuasive. They're just extremely sweet kids. But there was a repeated concept here. When she talks about how nice the children are, she talks about how talkative the children are. Why is that the thing that she mentions most about them? Well, one of those things could be that she thinks they are very trusting of strangers. They'll talk to anyone. Therefore, she might think it's likely that there's been some sort of stranger abduction. That would all make sense. But I've got another thing here. They'll talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in the store. 3 times there, she mentions how much they'll talk. Let's go back to the first description and look at how much noise comes into that first description. I heard them playing in the next room, is what she said. You can't hear the sliding door, she says. But then the next thing we knew, it was quiet. I tell him, do you hear the kids? And he says no. So we have lots of talk, and also they were yelling for them everywhere. So lots of speech about how much the kids talk, about noise and quiet. Makes me wonder, number one, was there an issue with the kids talking? Is this what got something going on? For example, was she trying to sleep and these kids were making a lot of noise and she yelled at them, shut up, and the kids ran off because they didn't like it? Or worse, you can see where my mind's going with that one. Or when she talks about just how much these kids will speak to anyone, was that a worry? I've already picked up potential neglect in this household. Potential neglect, it's just my opinion. I could be wrong, and please, I hope I am wrong. But were the kids talking, or was she frightened that the kids were going to talk to someone in a store, or just anyone, because these kids will talk to anyone about what was happening inside the house. So in that part there, I do have that reassuring thing that she's talking about them in the present tense and not in the past tense, but there's a real focus on talking and the juxtaposition with when the kids were no longer there, how quiet it was. That seems to be a very big thing for her. It's not her kids are missing, but it's that the noise has stopped. That seems really interesting to me. If you want to get more, then please subscribe to this channel. That means you will get episodes like this as soon as they drop. And a like goes a long way to getting this information to a lot more people. I know so many people are interested in missing persons reports. So please, a bit of that would go far as well. And listen, if you want more from Never a Truer Word, then consider becoming a member of the YouTube channel or a subscriber on Spotify. That means you'll get episodes like this one before anyone else, and also exclusive episodes as well that no one else can see bar members of the channel on YouTube and subscribers on Spotify. Let's go back and listen to some more from the mother of these missing children.
I appreciate the huge search effort going on right now, but we've been pushing for an Amber Alert, which hasn't been issued. Not just that they could possibly be abducted, which it is a possibility that they could have been, but just an alert to let everyone know that they are missing. We had people text me saying that they weren't aware, someone else let them know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. Okay,
got some more that worries me there, I'm afraid. She said, I appreciate the huge search effort going on right now, but we've been pushing for an Amber Alert, which hasn't been issued. Not just that they could possibly be abducted, which is a possibility. she doesn't seem to really think it's a possibility, does it? They could possibly be abducted, which is a possibility. Her mind seems to be very much on the fact that these kids haven't been abducted. Potentially that's because she thinks they've wandered off. Perhaps that's because she knows differently. But also remember that juxtaposition with the strangers. I felt that she was saying they would talk to anyone in a way that meant you possibly could have just talked to a stranger, or strangers talked to them, and all of a sudden they've been abducted. But she doesn't seem really to think that abduction is a possibility. And then there's an interesting bit of focus here. It sounds like she wants the word to get out there to absolutely everyone, which is what a concerned mother of children should do. But she doesn't verbalise it in that this is to help the kids be found. The end point for her is letting everyone know they are missing. Not let everyone know they're missing so that more people can be searching for them, so that they can be found, so that they can come home. No, the concern is for herself at her end that they are missing. If you think about the concern for the kids are not missing to the kids know where they are. She doesn't seem to want them to be found in those words. She wants people to know that they are missing. We've had people text me saying that they weren't aware, someone else let them know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. Nice? Vital, I would think, that as many people were looking for your kids as possible. However, she just thinks it would be nice if everyone could be alerted. So, in that section there, listen, she wants the word out that they are missing. Not so much that she wants them searched for or that she wants them found. She does appreciate the search effort, but really she wants the word to get out there that they are missing. And also, she seems to think abduction, for some reason, is a low possibility. Let's hear some more from her.
We thought maybe that we found tracks, but it's still uncertain. It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they are feeling warm.
Okay, so there. We thought maybe that we found tracks, but it's still uncertain. It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they're feeling warm. She really thinks they're outside. She does not have in her head the possibility that these kids are inside. Why is that? It's a rural area, so maybe it's more likely that if they wandered off, they are going to be outside. But again, she doesn't think they've been abducted, because if they were abducted, then the rain may not have affected them, and the sun would also not be affecting them. So for some reason, she really thinks these two kids are outside. It's almost a certainty in her head here that these kids are outside. And I'll also notice there in this that there is function, not emotion. It's been raining, they're probably soaking wet. Function. With the sun today, function. I'm hoping they are feeling warm. Function. There is no emotion. I'm worried to death about them because they are outside. It's been raining. Oh, they're going to be suffering because if they're outside, they're going to be soaking wet, and that's going to be horrible for them. Today, I'm hoping they're maybe a bit happier because they're feeling warm, or I'm less concerned because it's sunny today. So, hopefully they'll be able to dry out and be a little bit more comfortable where they are. There's no emotion in there whatsoever. Here's some more from the mum.
We're all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found. We want them home. Everyone loves them. They are definitely verbal, and they do have possible autism, but it's not extreme autism. It's just they have issues with school, and they don't catch up with the other kids. I just want to remain hopeful. But there's always, in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst. Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds. And I don't want to go through that another night without them.
Okay, more that worries me there. She starts off that section by saying, we're all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found. We want them home. Everyone loves them. And you'll see that she's not talking directly for herself there. This is all about we, a sort of more general sense than herself. We are all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found. We want them home. Everyone loves them. She's not talking for herself. I'm full of pain and sorrow because I want them found. I want them home. I love them. That's not there at all. Slightly more distant by talking about we and everyone. Now, I believe that the next part, which is they are definitely verbal and they do have possible autism, is because word got out that these kids were non-verbal autistic, which would be massively concerning. That two non-verbal kids had gone missing. That would really be concerning. Not that two kids who are verbal going missing is not concerning, but she wants to correct that for some reason. They are definitely verbal and they do have possible autism, but it's not extreme autism. It's just they have issues with school and they don't catch up with other kids. So they are definitely verbal. So we have once more this thought of them talking and making sound, which is really, really a theme that has just come through in almost everything she said. They are definitely verbal. They do have possible autism, but it's not extreme autism. It's just, we've got that word just focus down on this little thing and don't look too wide. It's just they have issues with school and they don't catch up with the other kids. Again, that seems slightly derogatory about these kids. Autistic kids do have problems with school, but also have other qualities which are not something you could be derogatory about. I know when I talk to people about autistic kids, they're super smart. They're really, really intelligent, such quick learners. Those are things that could be said, but we're talking about the negative effects here. And they don't catch up with other kids. It feels to me like she's seeing her kids in a race with other kids. If you've got autistic kids, they're in a lane all of their own. They're living a very different life. You don't expect them to catch up with other kids at all. That's interesting choice of words there. She says, I just want to remain hopeful, which suggests that she's not hopeful. I just want to remain hopeful, and that remain as well suggests there is no hope there. But there's always, in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst. And again, she's not talking for herself. It's just in a mother's mind. It's not in her mind. And you're always thinking the worst, not she is thinking the worst here. So she doesn't seem very hopeful here. And once again, she's distancing and not giving us her feelings on the matter. Then she says, last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds and I don't want them to go through that another night without them. Who's the concern for here? I said I was looking out for where she's concerned. Her concern there is with herself. There's no concern expressed at all for the children. Not even when she said it was raining. She didn't express any concern specifically towards the two missing children. Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds. Not last night was one of the worst nights because they were not in their beds. It's I didn't have them in their beds. Concern for herself. I don't want to go through another night without them. These kids are missing. She thinks they're out in the open. She has said that in her words. And yet her concern is not what her kids are feeling, it's what she's feeling. She doesn't want to go through another night like that. She's not concerned, in her words, she's not concerned about the kids there. It's a concern for self. And here, in all of this, I see a massive concern for self. One reason, and this is just one reason, but it's a very probable reason when people have concern for self in their language and not concern for others, is when addiction is involved and the focus all turns inwards on one's self. And that's what could be going on here. But listen, in all of this, missing, really, really missing, is any concern for the children. As we've gone through her words in this interview that she's given, I see no concern for Lily and for Jack. That's a real worrying sign for me. So that is what the mother has to say. What do I think? Look, I think in the words, there is possibly neglect happening in that household. I got that from her need to explain what great parents they were. Possible addiction going on there as well. Maybe the addiction leads to neglect. She believes they are outside. It's quite fixed in her mind they are outside. Now, talking or their nature of talking was a big issue. It could be that they just were so loud and interrupting her sleep that she was drifting in and out of, that there was an issue there. Like I said, it could be the kids ran away because they were snapped at, or it could be that someone decided that this talking had to stop, or it could be that this addiction and this neglect, there is a worry there that the kids were going to talk to anyone else. That's my conclusions. That's my opinions. I hope and pray I am wrong about them. But the words there do give me real cause for concern. What are your thoughts? Do let me know in the comments here if you can, or you can get in touch on social media. Neveratruerword.com is the website. There you will find a whole lot more about digging into the words that people choose to use to see the truth, to see deception, and also to see the motivations of someone. Also there, you could sign up to join the Facebook group, which is where some of this analysis has come from. And at neveratruerword.com, you'll also find a whole lot more analysis of people talking about missing persons, if that is something you're interested in. Neveratruerword.com is the website, and we'll see you soon for something new from Never a Truer Word.